Alrighty, daily trading recap for this Wednesday, the 3rd of November, 2021. Another day in the red, adding on to that nice little red streak we got going, but sometimes I know it's not going to last forever. We're going to eventually have to take a green day one of these days. Still do not have a green trade, I think, for this month and in a long recent time, but good trade. Thesis is out there. We're certainly getting a lot more data and a lot more experience on what I'm actually going for with this short setup that I want to tackle and some other good trades that I was tackling on the day as well. Housekeeping first, though. SPY. Man, we had some Fed news, I believe, that Fed announces at the beginning that they're unwinding all the crazy influence that they're putting on this market, which I would think would be bearish news in a sense, that everybody would be thinking, okay, now we're just going to come back to reality. Things are going to snap back to what they originally were pre-inflation, pre-money printing. But market obviously liked it, tapping all-time highs once again to an immense degree, but not pairing that with huge volume. We're just barely tapping over 50 million volume on the day here, with a decent, we're 3 hours after market close as of now too. So interesting to see where this volume came from, or obviously you can see it on the intraday perspective that it was just kind of hovering, balancing itself around VWAP for the whole day until this news came out, or what the Fed was deciding to do. But interesting to see that it just, compared to these past few days, that it wasn't insane volume to push this thing to the upside. So market internals on the day as well. NASDAQ, $248 billion volume. NYSE, $279 billion volume. OTC markets, $2.3 billion volume. Coming into today, looking at XELA, GRIL, which was just a stupid nothingness day on that one. These third day surge plays are just bogus. They're just not happening, especially when mostly all of them have this hard sell-off, whether into the close, into the afternoon session. Just nothing came of this one today. VUZI I was watching as well. Nothing. Just, you can call it a little bit of a test and attempt, but double tops here and just blah, nothing. No volume, no continuation there. GMBL I mentioned yesterday as a little swing attempt to potentially find if any technical level wants to start holding on this one for, we're in this downtrend on the daily, but had this nice volume perk day yesterday. See if we get any amount of reversal of this trend. If it wants to start going in the opposite direction, then I would like to follow that trend as well. In that esports sector, it is a low floater, but just really hard sell-off for me in the afternoon session here. Just not very entertaining or enticing for me today. That's all I wanted for the introduction. Let's get into the trades. First one on ALNA. Perfect representation of what I want to be shorting for the afternoon session. Looking at it, calling it the afternoon fader style of trade. Traded it horribly. Absolutely continuing to just defy what my monthly goal is and just be precision-like and execution-like with my entries and exits. And on ALNA, ARTL here at the end, just horrific on both sides. Exit on this one was actually saving me a little bit. I was hesitating on whether I should size up a little bit more potentially, because I knew this one was going to eventually be lower than what I entered at some point throughout the day. But just, what I was willing to risk on this one, if, I was going to risk this 1-2 area, if I was going to risk this little market hour spike of 114, if I was going to hold till there. But I'll get into that after just the fact of what am I looking for with this chart and breaking it down I'm looking for that similar move like we saw in WUMI was a little bit too close of an example, like I mentioned yesterday. Hard sell-offs. They get the pre-market spikes, they pop up on all the scanners, maybe they tracked in a few more retail traders, then just die. ABVC was a little bit more parabolic, crazy 2 days ago, but again, has its morning session, does whatever it wants to do, and then it just gets to the 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time frame, 11:30ish time frame, and just nothing to continue these movers. They're just completely dying off, attracting in whatever they want to. And it wasn't even like this is a new pattern. This has been happening for a while. It's just, why have I not realized this or put this into action as a style of trading? It's especially what I love as a personality trait for me is I want the high probability trades that are just it's not a science whatsoever. It's not okay, you have to this is the exact precise entry point on all these style of trades, that they have to hit this certain percentage move, they have to have this much amount of volume, they have to hit all these specific factors. It's just see it, understand, get the feeling and intuition of how they're moving. And yes, there's other factors of like, what was the one that was moving today? TPI, that this one's moving far too close to market open. This one had the news catalyst at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. And those ones, if they have that new catalyst so close to market open, I feel it just totally disrupts how these things move. I think OLB yesterday even too, the same type of thing that, man, if they get within that 15 minute, they released it at the 9:15 mark. It just like kind of can be good sometimes, but it just messes up a lot of the flow for me on those style of trades. For them to develop what they want to do in pre-market for enough time to come in until it gets into market hours in that sense. Other tickers along the same lines, GFAI, which day this was, a few days back. It actually had a little move today, but the same type of thing. This one's happening a little bit earlier. Same thing like WIMI, and not the most percentage-wise opportunity today, but that they're just dying. They can do whatever they want to do. This was last week Friday. Has its pre-market spike. This was 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time frame. Holds VWAP, does whatever it wants to do, chops around. This was the crazy one as well too. That was high of day, new low of day, back to high of day within 4 minutes. Ludicrous. But bypassing all of that, as you get into now 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time frame, it's now pulling back under VWAP, breaking new low of days. It's done. It's cooked. There's just nothing left in it. It's just a blank. And not even trying to nail it as an awesome move of even perfectly holding this thing from 3.4 down to 3, which is a little beyond 10% move. And it's beautiful. That's an easy collection move of, yeah, you can sit in it and say and try to break it down of, man, it's still a decent way from VWAP here at this point. Maybe it gets a little bit of curl back to VWAP there, but it's just kind of time and time again that these just continue to die and die over and over. They just bleed and die out. ARTL, I'll mention here in a little bit as the last one, but this one, Monday from this week, had the pre-market spike, does whatever it wants to do, kind of double tops here for the pre-market. That was it. By the end of 10:08 here, it's just done for the day. I mean, getting short anywhere around here, 1-1, you're cashing out. I'm at 10% at $1. Even just taking that for a little morning trader. Even if you're holding it, it does try to reclaim for VWAP right in that lunch session, but still continues to fade off into the close there. UAVS, another one. These are the style of charts that I'm trying to play off of, the mentality that I want to get in of, I used to continually get screwed over and over again with thinking I was scalping and identifying these key levels. And UAVS here, same thing, that get the little push here. This is starting the push at 8:30-ish Eastern Standard Time frame. Pushes up, pulls below VWAP, smacks around the morning session. You get to 10:30 Eastern Standard Time frame. It's done. It put in the high of day, starts pulling back to VWAP, and just fades, bleeds the whole rest of the time. This is the frickin' trading block that I want to be a part of. This entire move to the downside of an easy set it and forget it of, it's not even about establishing specific scientific formulas or algorithms about, okay, well, risking high of day, well, if it gets to this time frame, then you can risk this much more, and you're looking for X amount of percentage from the pull here of, it's just meant to die. That's what this trade is. And if it comes back, if I wait a little bit too long and it starts to pull up here, and I'm already still short from 308, but still taking profits at 2.8, like, easiness of trading. That's what I want to be looking for, and the probability of these things just dying off. But this is specific for what feel like I'm seeing in this market as of right now. So back to the chart of ALNA, how horribly I absolutely traded this. Kind of making the same analogy with UAVS. This was the block I'm looking for. Just the pure, beautiful downtrend that you can try to psych yourself out and say, oh, well, it bounced off a VWAP here, but it was a little bit higher low, but now it's basing under VWAP here, now trying to reclaim VWAP here with volume. Okay, am I going to stop myself out? I do best when I'm not in front of the screen, when I just let the patterns and the probabilities work out as they do. This one I just got in a little bit too soon. I was convincing myself that, because WIMI was the closest one of those charts that I just showed, that, okay, maybe as we get... we already pulled a little bit too hard. I say too hard. We already pulled a pretty decent amount under VWAP before market open, which, as I was watching it around this point, going, oh, shoot, this is kind of like the morning dump setup where I'm looking for that failure to maintain VWAP. This could be an entry point. I could get short around this 110 mark, but I don't think it's just going to go immediately down to a 10% key level where I'd be looking to take profits as a trade in itself. So I just said, okay, give it time, let it work how it wants to do, start trading the pattern that you feel you're recognizing. Came down a pretty significant amount, all the way down to 102. Yeah, I probably could have been taking profits even from there if I was trading it as a morning dump pattern. But then we get a nice little perk off of there from market open, pulls back to the downside of VWAP, holds that level a little bit, but then we break that 102 point, and I'm thinking, okay, sweet. I think this is kind of the nail in the coffin for the day, that was all the volatility it got it. Nobody was really talking about this ticker, not even Monaco had an awesome live stream session today. He wasn't talking about it. Bowen didn't mention it in his pre-market prep. Nobody was really asking about it. I think there was a few people in the Millionaire chat that mentioned it briefly in pre-market, but just nothing else coming of it. So these are the tickers that I love, that they're just kind of the soiled, forgotten fruit that nobody wants to be a part of, but are easy and predictable profits. The downside, that's where I love to be. I don't get that enjoyment out of the DWACs and the funds and the AMCs and the GameStops, where just everybody and their grandma is piling in on these things, but it's just the forgotten little charts that just, man, those entice me for some reason. So perfect bottom fill as a short that I get exactly bottom ticked 101. I don't think I got any change on 101. I just got perfect 101 as a bottom tick there. Huge volume came in to support that immediately after that 102 broke, as you can see on the chart here, if my face isn't blocking it. We reverse a little bit, but it's still not like immediately reversing, which is keeping me in it to say, okay, it reversed pretty quickly off of there. I normally wouldn't like to be keeping in on this if, of course, this is that tough situation of, man, do I really want to waste a day trade now, immediately cutting it after it reversed that hard with big volume that it's supporting? Do I think the trade could still happen from here, that it just doesn't? In my head, because I'm still saying that thing I mentioned earlier of the chart of, man, I know that this chart within the day is going to be lower than what my entry is. Even though it's a terrible entry and we're pretty high and I could get a much better average now, I know it's going to be lower at some point. Do I continue to just fool around with this one and just play with fire and go negative however much percentage, and then end up taking a far smaller percentage to the upside and saying, oh, awesome, I took a green trade? Man, that type of risk rewarding, me seeing people do that online, how they just continue to bag hold and somehow turn these insane losers eventually into winners. You know, it works great for a while until that one that ends up absolutely wrecking you for your entire trading career, because it only takes one to take you out of the game. You can't win. You can't make your life off of one trade, but you can totally lose your entire account off of that one trade in the same sense. So that's what I prioritize in everything, is I'm not looking just to be green. I'm looking to develop profitable strategies. And for me on this one, I was alluding to a little bit earlier that, gosh, I was kind of thinking about adding here at this point as we're getting, we actually tapped off of VWAP there, that, okay, now we're pulling back. Do I add more size? Because I certainly could bump it up to $1,000 position size. I would feel confident with that, with how many charts I've been seeing do this. It wasn't it's not a crazy high float, this is a 79 million floater. Yeah, 79 million floater. Biotech news, super sketchy company, American. Just knew it, right? But then it's developing of, okay, just respect the risk and move on to the next one. And it was getting to that state of a little bit of emotion creeping into it, that's saying, okay, well, now I'm playing with fire a little bit if I'm trying to risk 1-2. If I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe just risk the market hour spike of 114. Do I let it go all the way up to there? And of course, I perfectly would have gotten stopped out to that side. I would have had a beautiful, dumb representation of selling low, buying high on this chart if I was to give myself to that. Great representation for where I'm at as a trader. That's why I have this monthly goal of get refined with the entries and executions. But was able to kind of stop myself out and save a little bit of that bleeding, and open myself up a little bit earlier to a bigger perspective on what I was seeing with the chart. So I think not having to go through just that slow and continual bleeding and pressing against me as a short, it did give me that more time to mull over the trade, to step outside of myself, see what was developing on the chart, eventually realize you were right. You're going to see this thing come down below your entry price at some point the rest of the day. This is a terrible company. This is the same pattern that's been happening over and over again with these other similar charts to that light. It's just learning lessons. I think it's a small loss to take that's just going to continue to propel me for what I'm actually seeing. This is the things that I was going through with that morning dub setup that is my most profitable pattern as of right now in my playbook. And I certainly want to develop this one. If the market continues to give that sentiment that this is what's happening, this is what's working, you just need to play the consistent, be able to realize and recognize when and where it's going to be. It's all about timing. That's what shorting is, especially. It's all about that timing. BKKT, let's get into now. I also took a trade on. This one I had identified because I was just pulling up my old videos and watching, just kind of pulling up the tickers randomly, seeing where they were at. This is that nicey former runner, still holding multi-days pretty well. A bit of a large ask to say, gosh, we could get another parabolic move here for how crazy a percentage move we're still in as of right now that we're holding. But, we could, never say never. Hard sell-off 2 trading days ago on the start of the week here, but still holding a wider range. But a range nonetheless that we're just kind of developing these levels. $35 level here that we're holding, obviously, but a little bit of a leniency that I was giving to it to say, I think you could hold here. I think you could go parabolic potentially, or even just get a little bit more of a perk here, squeeze some more shorts that are eager to hop in on this one. And took a little bit smaller size because of that $300 position size on this one, and cut it as it told me to. So a little bit of great entry here on this one that I got screwed over with a stop that I tried to put just above my entry price. For some reason, did not get filled, which do not know why, do not have an understanding. It wasn't like it was fast price action. That was just completely missing me. I don't know what happened there again. So I ended up taking kind of bottom filling again here on this candle, which I knew immediately after I pushed that button of, you freaking bottom filled your exit again. This is disobeying your monthly goal. This is not adding to the trader you want to be. But entry was very good of kind of identifying when volume was coming in as we were breaking to the upside. We pulled back after this little perk, reclaimed a little bit, starting putting in these higher lows, continuing to test. Nice volume, continuing to press that. Pulled back again, but then continued to just push and push. But nothing more to fruition out of that. So small loss on that one. Still adding those red trades, but good thesis on this one. The potential was there, I feel, on this one. Nothing came of it. ARTL, I'll mention now, that I just took here before the close. Oh my gosh. So I can give myself a little bit of slack. Well, I can give myself a little bit of slack that I did have my nephew coming over right at market close here, other family coming over. So disrupted a little bit in my focus and attention that was going on there, and took a super small size on this one. So for the background on this trade, this one was mentioned on pre-market prep actually, and I kind of forgot about it. And this is an HC Wainwright play, super sketchy. Just set it, forget it. I mentioned it earlier, obviously, for that same type of, has the pre-market spike and then just afternoon fades. But third day potential on this one that I was kind of keeping an eye on. It was holding some decent amount of levels. It actually broke, if you want to call this 0.9 a little bit of support, but was reversed quickly, came back to VWAP, came back to the upside. And I set an alert early in either pre-market or just early in the market hours of, okay, if it gets to $1, I'm not going to keep it on any of my charts just to keep my mental capital free. I'm looking at a lot of other charts. We're trying to put my main focus on ALNA. But if it does get to $1, I certainly think that's a key emotional level. Obviously, give me an alert, just get me back in it. So send me that alert right before the close here. Let's get on a 1 minute. A few minutes before the close, I was looking up other charts. Don't see any news on it, but I could totally feel that this is just a squeezy, crazy, manipulated stock. You get a little bit of perk here, pull back, and then a huge volume slap, and that's when the alert gets it to the upside of $1. So I see that, pull up the chart quick, and able to just, in that fast motion, I'm seeing the bid support coming in a little bit. Okay, I at least got to slap this with $50 or 50 shares. Yeah, that I started with. I think it could go, if it goes in the market hours here, great. I'm looking for at least 110, but if we get into that after hour situation, this is a very nice move. The timing of it, I think after hours could certainly prove an immediate and perfect nice squeeze that we could profit off of. So chopped around a little bit, no real volume. It's not like this was attracting any attention because there was no news catalyst. I think, I'm trying to pull it up on Twitter, and the only people who are really seeing it are just getting it on the percentage move basis on scanners. So just nothing coming in. You get a little perk here with another bigger volume candle that I think, okay, here's the move is coming. As it's breaking to the upside there, slap another 50 on it. What position size I really wanted to ideally end up with on this one. Probably not larger than a $200 position size anyway, but just because how many times have I traded this and how many times have I seen these working out? Not a lot. So just keeping my size experimental and educational in that sense. And especially too, because I knew I had my nephew coming over and I wasn't trying to distract myself with that big position size that way. So then, yeah, still just, we get into after hours and it's just not, I thought immediately once we got into after hours, it was just going to start going crazy. So I had limit orders in for the extended hours of like 115 that I was looking for, that it could just immediately perk there and it would just fill me, and then probably like the spread would be so wide and crazy. It'd come down to like 107, whatever. So I was kind of ready, prepared to, and if it wanted to break to the downside of $1, I was also ready to cut there. This is another great reminder for me of just stupid entries and executions that I am part of the sheep, that I just, I got to have a totally different mindset of where am I risking? What am I looking at? Because it's obvious that I'm part of the stupid people. I'm part of that stupid money that's getting screwed over, that's getting stopped out, and it needs to change. I need to completely revamp of how I see these and where I'm placing those stops, because it's gone on far enough. Too much. Much too much, darling. So perfectly gets me stopped out and pretty much reverses pretty quickly right after that to that where it had in market hours, 107. Pulls back again, still holds $1 though, doesn't break that. I was not watching any of this at this point. I was trying to set, just alerts or pulling it up on my phone on Robinhood to see the tick by tick, and I was seeing it break. So then I saw it under $1, just sold it, whatever, and then went off with my family. So then by the time I see it again, it's at freaking 115. And I'm just going, you are freaking kidding me. Totally in a different amount of time that I thought it would have, in a different pattern than I thought I would have seen. I certainly thought more volume would have come into this one to push it faster. Just frustrating. So this is where kind of the level we're sitting at now after hours. But I think tomorrow could be certainly nice on this one for the crazy H.C. Wainwright manipulated move that came out of it today. But did it hit the exact price levels that I was looking for, just that risk level once again. But yeah, can give myself a little bit of slack to say I was having some other family stuff going on at the time, which did take me out of it mentally. But shoot, golly, that's a tough one. XELA, I got a little bit of a swing going on. This one, same thing with BKKT that I pulled up, that, kind of was just looking at this one randomly because I was watching past videos and typing in the tickers again to see where they were at. Holding a nice little wedge here on an hour scale. It's even clearer for just obviously putting in these tops here. Just nice little triangle, higher lows, lower highs, you could say, but putting in some nice little work there. Former multi-day runner. This one not so much with big volume, but nice little run here for the summer months. It's a familiar ticker. I don't know if I remember it from, it just must be from this past year that I remember it. But certainly potential is there. I got 50 shares at 203.8 right around here, and it had a nice little perk soon after that entry that I thought could have been the start of the move, but then pulled back even more. And still just holding. I think if it breaks obviously to the downside of this little wedge here, I'm going to be out of it. But again, keeping the size super small, just $100 just for an educational. If I get more than an intraday time frame, I'm certainly going to size way down just for the after hours worry that I don't want to be checking my phone every minute, looking at what the price is at. That is not what I got into this for. So that was the reasoning for that one. And then VUZI I mentioned in the introduction, and just interesting that it has a news catalyst come out right with this big volume at 11:10, 11:11, that they got a follow-on order to support another Fortune 50 customers' supply chain operations. I was going, oh, sweet. I see that. I randomly saw it pulled up because I had this one on the follow-up scanner for me coming into today. Just choppy of under VWAP. Okay, nice green move back to the upside of VWAP, but not chasing it because how many times I've done that before, and then it just pulls back. So wise enough in that sense to not be chasing around this spike. Seeing it pull around just a little bit more. Potentially I could have got an entry around here for how well it was holding off of VWAP, and you get a little dip bottom here. But then you get this news catalyst to come in. I'm going, awesome. Here comes volume. Has a nice little perk, but then almost double tops for the day. And then hovering here, no volume to continue it. Continuing to go red. Red even more, red more, and then breaks under VWAP. I'm going, what the heck? So now this, in reflection, is just like, even with a news catalyst today, this thing even couldn't put in higher moves. And yet I was trying to watch it for a third day style of play, looking for bigger moves, not expecting a news catalyst. So that's just another reference for me, piggybacking off of Gorilla as well too. That, man, I keep trying to tickle out those, and the EQOS yesterday, that just these like whatever I'm looking for as a third day play. I don't even really know if I'm looking at these third day surge tempo plays in the correct light, because obviously I'm looking at it in a totally wrong light, or they're just not panning out as right now in this type of market. Crazy. That is all the tickers I want to mention. Preliminary watches for me right now. Not any hard scannings, just looking at CGRA as OTC ticker. Again, I get into this, like, it's not pretty, not pristine price action on the day, but interesting to be a part of. $2.2 million volume on the day, 133% it's showing here at the close. Yeah, that's what we're showing here. So could see some potential second day plays coming after this, coming tomorrow morning, depending on if we get a gap up, if we get a gap down, wherever it wants to go. Probably won't panic dip buy, obviously, since it's just a one-day play. And panic dip buys have not been panning out very well at all. But that is all that I got. I sincerely thank you guys for watching. 25-minute video. We will catch you guys on the next one.